Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Better Care Forum. I'm Tom Harrell, and tonight's theme is how people with severe disabilities can live in their communities. We are fortunate to have with us three guests tonight. We have Claudia Grubler, Placement Coordinator for the San Francisco IHSS Public Authority. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you.
We have Tricia Webb, Volunteer Administrative Associate at Planning for Elders in the Central City, and also a board member of the Long-Term Care Coordinating Council. Thank you, Tricia.
Happy to be here.
And we have Luis Calderon, Project Coordinator for the San Francisco IHSS Public Authority. Welcome, Luis.
Thanks.
Luis, in some previous segments, we've talked a lot about how the Public Authority helps persons with disabilities live in the community, pursue jobs, raise families. I was hoping you might give us some more personal insight into what challenges persons with disabilities face, but also some of the successes and some of the strategies for allowing persons with disabilities to continue to live in the community.
Well, each person with a disability or senior that has moved into the community has a very different experience, from some somewhat good to some very bad. Mm-hmm. But what makes successful independent living in the community is really learning how to deal with all the array of services involved and all the things that need to happen for you to be successful in the community. Mm-hmm. People with disabilities early on learn that they have to be very good planners. We plan our lives every single day throughout the day, from their daily routine of having a specific time for your home care worker to come and get you up, to what time the van service picks you up, to whatever other appointment you have that day is very organized and that. Another example is that someone needs to learn is that people with disabilities are negotiators throughout the day. We negotiate with our workers about what needs to happen. We negotiate with our with the drivers of where we want to be dropped off. We negotiate with all kinds of people. Try to just even with total strangers. We negotiate on how could you please open the door for me. It's a very different situation constantly. But on a day-to-day basis, there's all kinds of services that someone needs to have, like IHSS, like home delivery meals, like sometimes case management for some people, getting equipment, getting different other types of services that you need to have in order to be independent. And being able to get those services are very important. And dealing with society itself is another whole story, but each of us can tell you a different story about what it took to be able to move out of the hospital or someone's home to be independent.
Well, it sounds like in addition to the skills of negotiation and planning is added coordination. Mm-hmm. Claudia, have you found that is that a skill that you've had to develop or maybe already had? Or
Totally. I mean, it's been so much on my network of friends and family that definitely have been immense support of helping me to keep myself, mm-hmm. Independently and doing basically to continue living as independent as I can.
Yeah.
But of course, without the help and support, would have been much harder for me to be out on my own. Definitely.
Yeah. Are there still improvements or services that the community could provide that would make that easier for you?
Of course. There is always room for improvement, mm-hmm. In terms of accessibility and just common openness of people towards the disabled community in terms mm-hmm. of, for instance, I was talking to Liz about even the medical physicians when I ended up in the hospital. It's like, so they'll take a look at my chart and they say, are you still working? Do you
mm-hmm.
work? What do you do? And it's a big surprise for them. So
yes.
It's important that in the work environment, also the opportunities for disabled people, there is always room for that as well. Mm-hmm.
Tricia, do you find that people's perceptions of what persons with disabilities can do is something we have to deal with all the time?
Yes, I do very much, because, a lot of people don't realize that I'm the mother of 2 grown children, and they're like, well, how did you do that? And, I left my mother's home approximately 27 years ago. And when I left, she said I'd be back in 6 months because I can't make it. But I haven't went back as of yet, and my kids are grown, and I'm fortunate to where I do have, you know, the in-home supportive services and all the other services combined, but I'm fortunate enough to have my worker, you know, live in with me, my attendant, whatever, and so if I need him at 3 in the morning or whatever, or 7 in the morning, he's there. And it, you know, it helps a lot to have that opportunity to be able to have that choice, you know, because, you know, it's so much more that I, you know, can do now because, you know, or, you know, as I get older, there's still always more that I can do.
Sure. Well, I can only imagine what it must have been like 27 years ago to try and live independently. And I hope some of the programs we've talked about have made life somewhat easier.
Yes.
But, you know, as Claudia pointed out, there's always room for improvement. And do you have any suggestions as to how other people with disabilities can improve their lives living independently or make that a little bit easier for themselves?
Yes, feel, you know, don't feel as if you are a burden or a problem to ask for certain services, you know, because a lot of people don't know that the services exist, and you won't know unless you ask. So it's very important that you speak out for yourself, you know, and be, if you will, an advocate, a self-advocate, and say, hey, I need such and such. Do you know where I can get it? Or do you know where I can get it? Or can you tell me who might know where I can get it? You know, and it's very important to always, you know, be willing to, excuse the expression, but fight for what you believe in.
Sure.
You know, and it's more, in my opinion, it's more of a struggled fight for people with disabilities because we're fighting two fights, you know, where it's like you might be fighting, say, for a seat on the bus. We may be fighting to even get on the bus, you know, that type of thing. So, and then finding a place to put our chairs on the bus or whatever, you know, and so it's, you know, it's a daily challenge, but it's worth each and every day, though.
Has it been beneficial to you to have, for example, your sons be able to be advocates for you as well, or has that been something that you've taken on to yourself more to advocate for yourself?
Well, no, we all work together. You know, we all work together, but there are issues that I do advocate, you know, for on my own, you know, which, you know, we're trying to get started here, you know, in San Francisco, such as the Community Living Trust Fund, so that we can have funds for, you know, continual living, you know, not just for now, but for continual living. So we're trying to get that established, and, you know, that is something that, you know, we, you know, as people with disabilities must stand up and say, yes, we deserve and we need this.
Well, I want to thank each of you for providing your personal insights into this. It's very important. And I want to thank the audience for joining us for this segment of the Better Care Forum. Please stay with us for a further discussion of these important issues in the future. Welcome back to the Better Care Forum discussion with our guests, Claudia, Tricia, and Luis. Tricia, we were talking about some of the successes, but also some of the challenges of living with a disability. And I wanted to really get down to some of the nitty-gritty of problems that you've been able to overcome or that other people with disabilities may face and need to overcome. And I know that, for example, the wheelchair that you're in looks like it is a fairly complicated piece of machinery. I'm sure there are other things in your life that have this the same way that people tend not to think about, but that are very important in your life, obviously.
Exactly, yes. And like you said, my wheelchair is, you know, a very complicated piece of machinery, and it does tend to, you know, get problems sometime. And if it happens, for example, on a Friday, you know, I can't get in touch with the company till Monday, then they may or may not have a loaner. So if they don't have a loaner, then I'm stuck in the house for 2 to 3 weeks until they can fix it, because I can't, you know, walk long distances. And so it's like, you know, when you're stuck in the house, it's like, you know, being institutionalized, if you will, because it's like you cannot make your own choice to go out when you want to, you know, or, you know, come in when you want to, if you will. You know, if I want to go out and stay out all night without my chair, I can't do that, for example, you know. And it's, you know, very important. And as well with, you know, taking a shower. If my shower chair breaks, and it might sound like something simple, but if it just happens to break, I have to wait until I get another one. And there's no telling how long sometimes that process takes, because I can't stand in the shower and I can't sit in a tub, So those things can be really time consuming and most frustrating, but I would say just always believe in yourself and know that you have the right to ask for what you need and demand, that I am an equal person. I am not a second-class citizen. Just because I have a disability, I'm just as good as you are. It's very important.
Well, it appears that despite the challenges that you face every day, nonetheless, it seems to be quite worth it to face those challenges and live independently. When there is another option, I suppose, which would be to live in an institution.
Not worth it at all. No.
Yeah, Claudia.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Have you ever faced that choice where of living in say a nursing home or an institution as opposed to living independently?
Yes, I had. I have a really low immune system, and winter comes and happens that I get pneumonia sometimes, often. And yeah, once I got really, really sick, I was in a hospital for 2 weeks, and so the doctor wanted to discharge me, and he said, well, yes, you're gonna go to a facility, without even asking me. It was like, you're gonna be discharged today. It was early morning. He said, this afternoon you're going to the facility. And so, wait a second. I mean, no question of, Claudia, what do you think would be best for you?
Right.
I mean, they look at the chart, and it's really easy to just put you in this box that says C5, C6, high quad. She cannot cope by herself. She cannot be nowhere else, either in a hospital or in a facility, and it's not fair. Obviously, I need to advocate for myself, and nobody knows better than yourself. Yourself. Of course, your limitations and what is best for you. So having a choice of going comfortably to my home, my own safe environment that I know that I feel comfortable with, where I'll be surrounded by the people that I love and love me and care for me, rather than go to a strange place in a facility that it's nothing like home. So obviously, you need to advocate for yourself. Yeah. And when these challenges are always there for us, present, obviously.
Does the community of the disabled, is there a lot of communication about, do you talk to other people about how do I deal with this problem, or have you had this issue come up, and who should I contact, or what is the best way to proceed? Well,
interestingly, both of their examples it's a learning behavior. They have to learn how to advocate for yourself, learn what services are out there, and so if someone, either because of disease or disability, or because they have the need to use that, they have to learn how to get those services, how to advocate for themselves, how to ask for the services, and literally, like Tricia said, demand for those services. The public authority has a small mentor program. We have a peer mentor component where we match people with similar disabilities or age or situations with people that have successfully dealt with those issues. So, for example, we will try to match someone with having an issue with maintaining a home care worker with someone that is living in the community, hiring and supervising successfully. Generally, what we find is that by pairing those two, they learn from each other about other things, generally about all the way from ordering equipment such as wheelchairs or all the durable medical equipment that you need in a home, to transportation, to housing, to accessibility, to just to how to go out and enjoy in a social environment. Not always just thinking about surviving every day, but also living and enjoying the community. So that mentor program is really interesting because we had examples of people that were injured in a car accident or something, and from the hospital went home and they stayed home